This was a disastrous landing back to Florida as Donald Trump fled Washington, D.C. This is the height of Donald Trump being deranged. While he was on Air Force One, he was asked, "Hey, Donald, people are heading into Thanksgiving, feeling very worried. Will you just agree to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies so people aren't worried that they're going to lose their health care, Donald?" And he goes, "Nope. I don't want that. I don't want to extend the health care subsidies. I don't like that at all. I don't want to do it." Watch what he says on Air Force One. Play this clip.
Are you planning to extend those subsidies?
I'd rather not. Somebody said I want to extend them for 2 years. I don't want to extend them for 2 years. I'd rather not extend them at all.
Will you do this?
Maybe some kind of an extension may be necessary to get something else done, because the Unaffordable Care Act has been a disaster. It's a disaster. And I said it was when it first got put in. Unfortunately, we lost a couple of Republican votes, and the Democrats voted for it. It's a Democrat plan. And the premiums are going up, and it's the Democrats' fault. But, you know, they are negotiating with me. It's very interesting. They want to see something happen.
Who are you talking to on the Democrat side?
I can't tell you, but we have a lot of Democrats want this plan to happen. They would love to see the money go to the people, and the people go out and get their own health care. And there would be nothing like it.
As Congresswoman Kathy Castor says, got it, right before Thanksgiving, health care for 20 million Americans isn't your priority on your way to your resort that's being funded by the taxpayers. Then Donald Trump is asked a question about Ukraine. Do you think that Ukraine was being asked to give up too much land back to Russia, basically all of eastern Ukraine? Then Donald Trump just spews the Russian propaganda, which shouldn't surprise us at this point because Trump and his whole regime is compromised by Putin. And Donald Trump says, "I don't think so. One way or another," he says, "Putin's going to take over Ukraine regardless. So I guess Ukraine can do whatever it wants." Here, play this clip.
Do you think that Ukraine was being asked to give too much land back to Russia? I know at one point you said they shouldn't have to give any back.
It's really up. Look, the way it's going, if you look, it's just moving in one direction. So eventually that's land that over the next couple of months might be gotten by Russia anyway. So do you want to fight and lose another 50, 60,000 people? Or do you want to do something now? In some cases, the land is going in the other direction. So they're negotiating. They're trying to get it done. You want to have a border. You can't have a border that goes through a highway or a border that goes through the middle of a town. So that doesn't work. So it's a long, complicated process. And very, very sad because so many people are being killed.
And it should be noted that Ukraine has repelled Russia by and large from when the initial invasion took place, and Russia has barely taken territory thanks to the courage of the incredible Ukrainian army, notwithstanding Donald Trump's effort each and every time to represent the interest of Putin to try to topple Zelensky. But Zelensky and his European allies have stayed strong. Another reporter asked Donald Trump, "So are you going to unveil a healthcare plan anytime soon?" Because, again, the American people are worried, and you keep on saying 2 weeks. You've been saying that since your first administration. Then Donald Trump goes, "Well, we're looking into concepts. We're looking into alternatives to Obamacare." And he goes, "I just think that we should just not pay insurance companies. That's my plan. Let's just give people a check." That's not even a plan. What does that even mean? Do you know the way health insurance works? What happens? Let's just say you give somebody a $2,000 check and then the healthcare cost is tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars or potentially millions of dollars with a procedure. Then what do you do? Do you not even know the way health insurance works? Do you not even understand the way risk pools work? You don't, because you've never had to deal with these issues in your life because you were born with a golden spoon in your mouth, while the American people have had to deal with this. You're so out of touch in your con artist fraud land that you don't know what the American people go through. Here, play this clip.
Mr. President, are you planning to unveil a healthcare plan anytime soon?
Well, we're looking at different alternatives. I mean, I like my plan the best. Don't give any money to the insurance companies. Give it to the people directly. Let them go out and buy their own healthcare plan. And we're looking at that. If that can work, we're looking at that. That's sort of taken off. That's what I like. Don't give the money to the insurance companies. They go out and buy their own plan. You give the money to the people. I like it the best.
So then a reporter asked Donald Trump, are you worried that Witkoff may be a little bit too pro-Russian? And this question also follows that incredible Bloomberg report. Those reporters at Bloomberg are getting incredible scoops. They got that October 14th audio of Witkoff and some of the top Putin officials. I'll get to more of that in just a moment, where Witkoff was rooting for Putin in him. He was basically serving the interests of Putin. He was telling him, here's what you got to say to Donald Trump. Here's how you got to do it. And it was clear from the audio that the so-called peace plan was a surrender plan handed over by Russia. I mean, we actually have the transcript where Russia hands over the plan. Here's what Donald Trump says, though. He goes, nah, I'm not worried about Witkoff. He goes, that's how you negotiate deals. You go to this side, you go to that side. That's what deal making is all about. Here, play this clip.
They're losing too many people.
Have you heard this audio that Bloomberg has of Witkoff coaching the Russians on how to appeal to you?
Well, I haven't heard it, no, but that's a standard thing, because he's got to sell this to Ukraine. He's got to sell Ukraine to Russia. That's what a deal maker does. You got to say, look, they want this. You got to convince them with this. That's a very standard form of negotiation. I haven't heard it, but I heard it was standard negotiation. And I would imagine he's saying the same thing to Ukraine, because each party has to give and take.
So you're not worried that he's too pro-Russian?
No, I think, look, this war could go on for years, and Russia's got a lot more people, got a lot more soldiers, So I think if Ukraine can make a deal, it's a good thing. I think it's great for both. Frankly, I think it's great for both. But Ukraine's got it's much smaller. It's a much smaller group of people. They've lost a lot of people. Russia's lost a lot of people, but Russia has a much bigger pool of people.
I think it's important to note that Donald Trump is actually the worst deal maker. He's not a builder, he's a destroyer. Just think about all the companies he's bankrupted, casino after casino, company after company in his past. Heck, if you don't want to look at his past, why don't you look at his present? The Trump meme coin has crashed, Trump media has crashed, and he's doing the same thing with our economy. And that's what pisses me off so much. It pisses me off that he hurt so many employees and there have been so many victims of his cons, but now it's the American people who have been victimized by this. And now I just wanted to talk briefly about that Bloomberg report. Everybody should read this article. You take a look at this transcript of this October 14th call between Witkoff and Putin's top aide, Yuri Yushakov, and you have Steve Witkoff saying this, now, me to you, Yuri. I know what it's going to take to get a peace deal done. Donetsk and maybe a land swap somewhere. The hell are you talking about? You want to take away Ukrainian land and give it to Russia? How about this right here? Yushakov to Dmitriev. Remember how we've been for weeks here on the MeidasTouch network reporting about Kirill Dmitriev, the head of Russia's sovereign wealth fund, who's been hanging out in Miami at the Faina Hotel with the MAGA Republican Congress members. And we said that he was the guy, along with Yushakov, who laundered that 28-point Russian surrender plan to Ukraine that Trump gave and basically translated. You've seen our reporting on it. Well, it's confirmed by Bloomberg right here. Yushakov goes on this call with Yushakov, Dmitriev, and Witkoff, who's basically serving Russia. Like Trump and Witkoff are serving Russia. Yushakov goes, well, we need the maximum, don't you think? What do you think? Otherwise, what's the point of passing anything on? Referring to the plan. Dmitriev, no, look, I think we'll just make the paper from our position and I'll informally pass it along, making it clear it's all informal and let them do like their own. But I don't think they'll take exactly our version, but at least it'll be as close to it as possible. Yushakov, well, that's exactly the point. They may not take and say that it was agreed with us. That's what I'm afraid of. Dmitriev, no. I'll say it exactly as you say it, word for word. Yushakov, they might twist it later. That's all. There is that risk. There is, well, all right, never mind. We'll see. Dmitriev, yeah, it seems to me you can talk later with Steve about this paper. We'll do everything nearly. Let's just give Steve the plan. Just give Witkoff, who's the envoy to Russia, who's laundering Russia's plan in here. And by the way, do you remember yesterday morning when we woke up and all the corporate news headlines are like, Ukraine agrees to a peace plan? Do you remember? And do you remember what we reported on the MeidasTouch network? We said, BS. Stop saying U.S. official says Ukraine. Anytime you now say U.S. official says, we know you're lying because the Trump regime lies about everything. And the U.S. officials under the Trump regime can't be trusted with anything. Just like when they were like, we did a historic peace plan in the Middle East. Look, we did a historic peace deal between Israel and Hamas. No, you didn't. It was a ceasefire that lasted like 0 days. Israel and Hamas didn't agree to a two-state. Israel didn't agree to a two-state solution. Hamas didn't agree to disarm. They weren't signatories. They didn't sign anything. I'm like, what are we even talking about here? This isn't even a good ceasefire. I mean, I'm glad the hostages were returned, but in terms of making the ceasefire durable, and then of course it wasn't durable. And then the IDF killed hundreds of Palestinians. What are we talking about here? And Hamas never disarmed. It was such a predictable result. Same thing what we're seeing with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Stop making up that Ukraine's agreeing to things and Russia's agreeing to things. They're not. We know what's happening here. I mean, and by the way, here's more of that conversation. Steve Witkoff. Yuri, here's what I would do. Here's my recommendation, Yuri. Yes, please, Steve Witkoff. I would make the call and just reiterate that you congratulate President Trump on his achievements, that you supported it, that you respect, that he is a man of peace, and you're really glad to have seen it happen. So I would say that. I think from that, it's going to be a really good call because let me tell you what I told President Trump. I told the president that the Russian Federation has always wanted a peace deal. That's my belief. I told the president that, and I believe it. That's what Witkoff was saying. Remember, Witkoff's the guy, I keep doing this by heart because Witkoff's the guy he's visited Putin like 5 times and he puts his hand on his heart and he like bows down to Putin the same way Donald Trump rolled out the red carpet and made our military bend down on their knees like dogs in front of Putin. Like, how could you not be infuriated that Trump made our military get down on their knees like dogs and beg Vladimir Putin? It was the most roll out a red carpet for him. Are you kidding me? Have we lost all sense of our freaking minds that that's something that happens and that Trump isn't impeached or thrown out for that? What have we become as a country? Seriously, we're Putin bootlickers under Donald Trump, and Putin and Xi Jinping are laughing all the way along. Want to know who's laughing? Yuri Yushakov. Here we have the transcript. We have him laughing. Steve Witkoff, they're mocking Zelensky in the transcript. Witkoff goes, and here's one more thing. Zelensky's coming to the White House on Friday. Yuri, I know that. And then they start laughing together, mocking Zelensky. How horrible is this? How horrible. Going back to that disastrous landing of Donald Trump, the reporter asks, there were a lot of Republicans who felt the first 28-point plan was favorable to Russia. And Trump goes, that was a map. That was a concept. Dude, what the hell are you even talking about? Here, play this clip.
Europe really wants to see it end if possible.
There were a lot of Republicans who felt that the first 28-point plan was too favorable to Russia. Have you changed that?
Well, that was just a map. All that was is a map. That was not a plan. It was a concept. And from there, they've taken each one of the 28 points, and then you get down to 22 points. A lot of them we solved, and actually very favorably solved. So we'll see what happens.
So a reporter asked Donald Trump, all right, so what's the next step here? What's the next step? And Trump's like, well, Witkoff and Jared Kushner, they're going to go meet with Putin in Russia. Okay, so that they're representing Putin's interest, obviously. Now, here, play this clip.
This is very, very sad because so many people are being killed.
What's the next step?
They're going to keep talking. They're talking to Russia now. Steve Witkoff is going over, maybe with Jared. I'm not sure about Jared going, but he's involved in the process, smart guy, and they're going to be meeting with President Putin, I believe, next week in Moscow.
Next week in Moscow?
I think so, yes.
And if you want to know how out of touch this regime is, they then have Kevin Hassett, Trump's national economic advisor. He just keeps on digging, and he goes, Lots of people have said, oh, when Walmart said that Thanksgiving's 25% cheaper, it's because they included 14 items instead of 21 items like last year, and they use generic names. Regular people eat generic food. Are they so out of touch that they're saying regular people don't eat generic food? Okay, Hassett, yes, let's give the regular folk generic food. They get what, $2? Remember what, 2 pens for school? Remember what Donald Trump said? Do you realize what you sound like while all of you billionaires out there are, don't have to worry about any of this and you're just mocking the rest of us? Here, play this clip.
Favorite moments on a Sunday show for me last week was on one of the Sunday shows. You can look it up. I won't attack the poor fellow that was the anchor. He criticized the fact that Walmart said that the Thanksgiving dinner is cheaper by, I think it was about $10 for a typical Thanksgiving dinner. And then he said, oh, yeah, but they substituted generic stuff, as if like having a generic something is a crime for ordinary folks. It shows how out of touch these people are. I get generics
it's so
all the
silly.
time. I'm just saying.
So
just take a look at some of this other data right here, folks. The New York Fed talks about how the rejection rate for all types of credit, auto loans, credit cards, credit card limit increases, mortgage refinancing over the past 12 months rose to a series high of 24.8%. That's not good. Okay. You don't want all of those rejection rates. How about you look at monthly payroll growth? Just compare Biden's to Trump's. For those listening on audio, I have a chart that shows under Biden, payrolls positive and generally high, never a negative month. Under Trump, multiple negative months and payrolls low. Okay, pretty basic stuff right here. Inflation adjusted retail sales down from March 2021. And you just want to look at the Trump con artist right here. Here's another example of it. Remember when Trump said they were doing Trump Mobile? Remember the Trump Mobile company? They were gonna compete with Apple and change the way mobile phones are done. Well, the Trump mobile phone is nowhere to be found after months of delay. Just another announcement without anything at all. This guy's been so pathetic his whole life. And it just, as I've said, it should never be like a Democrat, Republican, Independent. I never used to even like politics, for a long period of time. It's just this guy is a loser. He's a con artist. He's a criminal. He's a sexual abuser. He's an evil person. And he surrounds himself with evil and bad people and other losers. And they are infecting this country with that hate, that evilness, and that loser behavior. And that's the Trump regime. That's what pisses me off. More than Democrat, Republican, Independent. It's that they're losers and they're criminals and they're covering up sex trafficking rings of children. These are bad human beings, bad people. And we here at the MeidasTouch Network are going to do everything we can every day to call it out. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million. And thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to add the MeidasTouch podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for new updates every single day.